So I got my I got butter biscuit, like chocolate,
Okay.
and got
I've actually seen
coffee.
those. Are those a German? Is that a German chocolate? I've seen those before. I feel like,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think it's German.
yeah, 100% German. I've seen
Quadratisch
them.
praktisch gut.
Yeah, definitely seen those before. My Oma has those. Okay, I think we are good to go. Just confirming. All right, we are officially live. Thank you so much for tuning in today, guys. Really appreciate it. After a crazy day, crazy first draft day for the Philadelphia Eagles. Thanks so much for joining Thomas and I. If you haven't already, I would really appreciate if you could hit that subscribe button. It would be greatly appreciated. If you can also rate the podcast and review the podcast wherever you listen to it, it would also be greatly appreciated. And I
It's a
am
great
joined.
podcast.
It is. And I'm joined, of course, by my good friend,
Heyo.
Thomas Petersen. Thomas, how much sleep have you got over the last couple of days? Because I don't think it's very much.
So I went to bed at 5:30 a.m. and I woke up because my dog was very happy at around 10:30. So not not the most sleep, but it worked out.
Yeah, it's
And
well,
I think how long is the day gonna be lasting? Until like 5 a.m.
probably, yeah. You're probably looking
Probably.
at another
So
4
we
or
got
5 a.m.
coffee,
night.
we got chocolate, we got beer for later.
What else could you need?
What else do you
Well,
need?
exactly. So Philadelphia Eagles, of course, had an absolutely crazy first day of the draft.
Bonkers day.
Let's dive right into it. Where do you want to start right now? The AJ Brown news was obviously the big news, but do you want to go from the timeline events, or you just want to dive into AJ Brown right away?
I want to dive right into AJ Brown.
Yeah, I
because
think that's
that
where you
was massive.
Yeah.
Nobody could predict that. No matter, nobody had that on their bingo card that the Eagles was suddenly at the 18th pick are going to grab a bona fide wide receiver, one of the top 5 wide receiver in the league, and given $100 million contract. Right?
No
right
one
there
had
in the middle.
Nobody had that. I tweeted a few days before. I was like, pick 18 would get it. I didn't think pick 18 would get it done. It was kind of overreaction, but
Right.
it literally was pick 18 and was a pick 101, right? A third round pick.
Yeah, third round
pick. It was 101. That was the compensatory pick that they ended up trading away anyways. So they keep their own third round pick, which is insane. So they go into the draft with 51 and 83, which we'll talk about later. But yeah, let's dive into it. AJ Brown is a Philadelphia Eagle after they get Jordan Davis. It was kind of like, I think it was like 20, in between 20 minutes, I believe. I wasn't even fully over the Jordan Davis draft pick yet.
Right.
Because I love me a Jordan Davis, and then they already drafted or traded for AJ Brown. So Thomas,
the picks were rolling in there. I literally just texted you, sell me on Jordan Davis, because I was for sure thinking that they were going to trade up for a Kyle Hamilton. Of course, I should have known better, knowing the Eagles, how they appreciate their lines. But I texted you, what do you think about it? Like, congratulations on getting your guy.
Yeah.
And then the trade just happened, right? Like right after.
So why didn't you give me like your initial reaction? Like, I know we were all very excited, but like now that you've kind of had 24 hours to kind of calm down a little bit and gather your thoughts, what do you make of this trade? What do you make of the Eagles acquiring AJ Brown?
It's a great trade. I mean, you and I talked about this throughout the entire offseason, and basically before free agency started, that what would one of the top priorities for the offense and for the team in the offseason would to grab a solid. We didn't know it was going to be in this caliber, but a solid veteran wide receiver to complement Devontae Smith. And throughout the entire time, we were thinking if they just get a wide receiver 2 guy, someone who's established in the league, but like maybe over the hump of the prime of their career, like a Allen Robinson type guy. I think both you and I were kind of high on him at that point. And everything just went on, like trying to trade for Calvin Ridley, not getting Kirk. I mean, that was probably a good thing. Not getting Allen Robinson, and we know that they were in on all of these guys, and the almost scenarios kept happening. And so I think we talked about, okay, so a wide receiver is probably going to be a priority. And so when you saw Garrett Wilson go away, you saw Jameson Williams go away, Chris Olave, for some reason the Saints decided to trade up for him.
What are they doing? I don't know what the Saints are doing.
I have no idea.
Under talked about topic of the first round is how dumb
exactly.
Been over the
and
last
so you're sitting there at 18 and going, okay, so the guy remaining in this first round that you could justify taking with the 18th pick would be Treylon Burks. I mean, that we texted about that, and they pulled the trigger and get a superstar wide receiver, one of the best at the position. So they have one of the best wide receiver ones in the NFL. I think you and I can both label in Devontae Smith as at least having the talent to be one of the best wide receiver twos in the league.
Yeah.
And if Quez Watkins is going to hit the ceiling that we saw a glimpse of last season, and especially against the Buccaneers in the playoff game where Jalen Hurts missed him 6 times, what could have been for 4 touchdowns, because he was smoking people with good route running, he can be a tremendous top 10, top 5 wide receiver 3 in the NFL. So Eagles just went from having one of the worst wide receiver cores and J.J. Arcega-Whiteside nightmares and Jalen Reagor nightmares to over a span of 2 years, having fixed that with Quez Watkins developing, Devontae Smith being a stud, and trading for a grumpy A.J. Brown who gets a contract. He gets to play with his good friend, Jalen Hurts. And that's the beautiful thing about this. We've been hearing so much stuff this offseason. Marcus Williams didn't want to play for the Eagles. Robert Woods decided that he wanted to get traded to the Titans when the Eagles actually made an offer. They tried to get Allen Robinson. They tried to get Christian Kirk. They tried to get Calvin Ridley. So everything from gambling to not want to play in Philly just played a part in that. And A.J. Brown chose the Eagles. He chose Jalen Hurts, and he got his contract. Well-deserved.
You nailed it. And I think the best way to look at this is the Eagles could have sat there and drafted Treylon Burks, who they thought would turn into a guy like A.J. Brown. Or you just go get A.J. Brown. Like, right? Like, that's the best way to look at it. Like, just go get the guy that you want Treylon Burks to turn into. And, like, this guy, you nailed it. This guy is, you said Devonta Smith is a talent to be, like, one of the best number 2s. He's a number 1, in my opinion. He will be a number 1 receiver next year. They have 2 number 1 wide receivers on the roster right now. And A.J. Brown has proven it since he's been in the career. So, over the last 3 years, A.J. Brown is 4th in yards per route run. He's 4th in yards after the catch per reception, and he's 17th in yards, almost 3,000 yards over the last 3 years. They are getting him at his age 25, 26, 27, and 28 seasons, and he has less guaranteed money than Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams. Like, A.J. Brown is – the trade the Eagles did for A.J. Brown is way better than the trade that the Dolphins made for Tyreek Hill and the Raiders made for Devontae Adams. Like, I would have taken the A.J. Brown trade for the Eagles over any trade for the wide receiver so far this offseason. And it looks like if, let's say, they didn't go get a wide receiver in the first round and maybe they wanted to sniff into the Deebo Samuel sweepstakes, he would be too expensive, right? Like, I think this is exactly what the doctor ordered. This is exactly what this franchise needed at this time. And I was trying to think back today, like, is this the biggest acquisition in franchise like since Terrell Owens? Like, it's got to be, right? Like, I can't really think of another trade, right?
It's up there. I mean, what hasn't he done? He's playing in one of the most run-heavy offenses aside from the Ravens and the Eagles. Second most running percentage offense in the NFL. He still, from the jump, produced a 1,000-yard season and I believe eight touchdowns in his rookie season. Was a Pro Bowler in his second season in the NFL. And he's been doing nothing but produce. And the way that he's been producing ever since he got in the league is the same way that he did in college. I mean, he's a superstar with the ball in his hands. He can make things happen just like, the type of Deebo Samuel can do it. He's got speed to burn guys as soon as he gets a little bit of separation, can separate at all 3 levels of the defense. He's got shifty enough moves that any in or out break and route, it's fine. Then he's got that contested catch skill. So, like you said, and I think Nick Sirianni pointed that out as well in the post round 1 press conference, that this is not a projection guy. This is a plug and play superstar.
Yes,
that the offense have not seen or hasn't seen since Terrell Owens.
Yeah, like this is like the Eagles haven't acquired a guy with this talent. And if you've been following this podcast, you've been following my work for like the last couple of years, I'm an A.J. Brown. Like, I love the guy. I'm obsessed with him. He's like my favorite. He was my favorite player, not in an Eagles jersey, and now he's in an Eagles jersey. So you can kind of just understand how I reacted. I was like, I couldn't believe it when I got that Schefter.
Kind of in shock. I think everybody were.
Came out of absolutely nowhere. And it's funny. Like, I was thinking about this today. Like, was Howie Roseman the only guy that called the Titans and asked for A.J. Brown? Like, Hollywood Brown went for basically the same trade. Like, it was a 23rd, and I think it was like 108. So, like, barely, if you were using the point system there, probably not very many very similar trades from the draft pick point system that teams use. And you get a way better player. And I don't know how
you use the Tyreek Hill, like the Tyreek Hill trade as a reference, right? What did they give for Tyreek Hill? First, a second,
a fourth, and a sixth.
Right. He's 28.
Yeah.
So we got 3 to 4 years of age difference. Of course, they're totally different players, but really they're at the same level of talent. They're at the top of the wide receiver class. Like you can debate if is Tyreek Hill a better player than AJ Brown at this point. You can make that argument, but he's 24.
And I think AJ Brown's game translates better when you get a little bit older too, right? Like this guy's game isn't going anywhere. Like he's going to be. You could argue the best football of his career is still yet to be played.
Yeah, and there's been discussions going on about trading for a DK Metcalf, and basically what those conversations started with was first round pick plus, and that's what it started with. And then it kind of barrel rolled into like a 2 first round picks. Would you give up that for a DK Metcalf? And with all respect to Ryan Tannehill, he's not Russell Wilson. And if you look at those two guys and what they've done in their first 3 years, they're right there with each other. I mean, Metcalf has 29 touchdowns, and AJ has 26 total, and AJ has produced more 1,000-yard seasons despite being in a run-heavy offense, like the things we talked about, and with Ryan Tannehill as his quarterback. And I just looked at one game today, just when I woke up, and I felt like I was hungover without having been drinking any alcohol, because and so I put on the Bengals game for the playoffs against the Titans, where AJ was still doing his thing and Ryan Tannehill was simply not in a good place. I mean, he was missing him left and right, and he carried the Titans offense in that game despite
he was the best player on the field that game. He was. The Bengals didn't even play that good a game. That was a stinker game on both sides for the Bengals and Titans. AJ Brown was the best football player in that game, 100%.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
He's so fun to watch, and that's another thing I kind of want to talk about with this trade. That like just from like a fan perspective, like just like if you kind of zoom out here and you just kind of look like for what this means for this team, like this team just got so much more exciting. Like the juice level, like the tickets, like I know they don't have problems selling tickets, but like just like jersey sales, like the media attention, like this, the Eagles are now back in the forefront as one of the most important and one of the most exciting teams in the NFL. I think not even just from an Eagles fan, I think the league is better when the NFC East has juice like that. I do think like just in general, when the Eagles are good, when the Eagles are playing like this, Eagles have talent like that. It's better for the division. It's better for everyone, better for the fan base. And like now
it's better for the future.
Exactly. Yeah.
It doesn't matter if Jalen Hurts is the guy or not. This is a future move.
Yeah. Like it just brings so much juice to this organization, so much juice to this franchise. So
and it's just fun. I mean, we can talk all throughout the rest of the day about how they still don't have a secondary, basically. Yeah, but it's just not fun. I mean, they added a incredibly fun player who was fun to watch and who he's going to do well.
Yeah. So how do you think? I feel like Nick Sirianni had a lot to do with this trade. Like I think Nick Sirianni, as a wide receiver guy, as a guy who's coached wide receivers in many different places, many different schools, many different teams, he wanted a bona fide veteran in there. He wanted a guy like AJ Brown. I think just the Nick Sirianni's presence had a lot to do with this trade that I just wanted to kind of bring up as well. And Nick Sirianni wanted more of like an after the catch guy in his offense. You can kind of remember the beginning of the year, the first 6-7 games, the way this offense was playing, it was a lot of screen passes and a lot of kind of like, not dink and dunk, but try to get the ball in the playmaker's hands. And Hurts wasn't playing too well. He wasn't doing very, like the read option stuff wasn't really working. So they kind of transitioned out of that. But that goes to show that was the offense that they came in wanting to play. So I think that they just wanted a guy like AJ Brown to put kind of that stamp on this offense. And like I said, 4th in yards after the catch per reception over the last 3 years. His numbers are so consistently good over the last 3 years. And like you said, the Titans offense is give it to Derrick Henry and play action pass and throw it deep. Like that's what their offense is. Like he's going to go now to a place where he should be able to get more touches and more looks at, with the football in his hands. So I can't say good enough things about this trade. Like hats off to Howie Roseman, hats off to the Eagles organization for pulling this off. This was a fantastic, fantastic move.
And nobody saw it coming. It was perfectly said. I saw on the timeline, somebody tweeted out like they don't just out of their pockets have a $1 million contract for 4 years right there.
Mm-hmm.
And like this was in the works.
No,
knew about this.
That was funny. They said it on the press conference. Yeah. We dialed this contract up during the draft. No, you didn't. You know it's coming. Yeah. I thought that was a funny answer. I thought that was a good one.
And Howie also told James Palmer in an interview afterwards that that Hurts had been in their ear throughout the offseason about AJ.
Yeah.
So they've been doing all the homework on that. That was no coincidence whatsoever. And not a single person heard anything about it.
Yeah. And like the only thing was when they were playing catch together, right? Last week.
Right.
And so they were I think Hertz went to, was it AJ Brown's daughter's birthday? I think was
Oh, that's true. I don't know.
Did you see the picture of them that they were like Mickey Mouse in
Yeah.
the picture? Yeah. So I don't know if that was the same weekend, but like it just goes to show like these guys are really good friends. And like Jalen Hurts now he's really good friends with Devonta Smith. We already know that. He's really good friends now with AJ Brown. They've got a lot of connection, a lot of just like kind of mold together. It's going to mold together nicely. Sorry for this kind of offense. So
yeah, and this should say everything that we need to know about their how much they want Hurts to succeed. That they're doing this now. With, like we said, in an offense or on a team where you still have massive questions in the secondary, and we're going to address that looking ahead to today.
Yeah.
At least now you have an offense. You have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. You have one of the best tight ends in the NFL. I'll stand on that every single day of the week. You have one of the best wide receiver groups in the NFL. And no matter who's running behind your offensive line, it doesn't matter because they're gonna find holes. And you have a Boston Scott and a Kenny Gainwell who are extremely good guys in the passing game coming out of the backfield. So you have an offense that if Jalen Hurts gets it together, and he doesn't even have to be consistently a high-level passer, like you said, Nick Sirianni can scheme these guys into a much easier design for Hurts, where like we talked about Deebo Samuel, get the ball out quick, let him work. Devontae Smith showed more than enough ability to get yards after the catch.
Yep.
Chris Watkins showed more than enough ability to get yards after the catch. And AJ can do that exact same thing. So he's going to have – he can roll out the entire creativity that he has been working up here. He's got a year now under his belt, the same quarterback, same offense. You plug in a guy who is by no means a projection. He's been working out with Hurts. So this offense can be a top 5 unit.
Yep.
And if it
was already a top 10 offense last year.
It was by every metric. It was.
It was towards the end of the year, of course. It wasn't a top 10 offense at the beginning. We all know that, but they were playing like a top 10 offense, and analytically were kind of towards the end. I think they finished top 10 DVOA. Like there's a lot of metrics that you can see that, and now you just drop one of the best players in football in the roster. So on the roster,
so the defense. You can roll out with what you have. You can sign Tyrann Mathieu after the draft if you still have some cap space available. You can see if a guy like Andrew Booth is going to fall to you, or like a Kyler Gordon or Roger McCreary, if they're going to get in there and compete for a starting job, or Jaquan Brisker, Jalen Petre. We're going to get into a lot of these guys that could be assets to the backfield. And you run with a high-scoring offense, which is what wins games in the end in the NFL. And you see what you got next year. I mean, because that's the thing. Like, even in 2 years, the Eagles offense is still a super young unit. And you have 2 first-round picks next year. You have 2 second-round picks the year after that. So if Jalen Hurts is showing that he can be the guy and that he is improving as a passer and the offense works, well, shit. You have a shit ton of picks that you can throw the defense later and later. And I love it. I love the move. It gives so much ability.
There's a big picture conversation here that I don't want to talk about today. That's kind of lingering, right? What will the quarterback situation look like next year? Did they do this maybe to attract a potential quarterback next year? Like, that conversation can be had another day, but that is definitely a part of this. I do think that they obviously, Howie and Jeffrey, have thought about that and when it comes to this move, but I don't want to focus on that today. Anything else on AJ Brown before we move on to Jordan Davis?
We're gonna get so much more into AJ Brown.
We got all summer to kind of.
We got all summer.
Okay, so Jordan Davis, before the AJ Brown trade, Jordan Davis was the first-round pick for the Philadelphia Eagles. They jumped the Baltimore Ravens from 15 to 13. Do you know exactly the picks they gave up? I think it was it a 4th and 2 5ths? I don't have the exact numbers in front of me here.
Yeah, something like that.
So they gave up 3 day 3 picks to jump Baltimore to get Jordan Davis, which I thought was a great move because Baltimore was going to take him.
Absolutely. Let's just get that straight. They were going to take him.
100% they were going to take him. There's no way that they want Kyle Hamilton there. They just paid a bunch of money to Marcus Williams. If they had a chance to get Jordan Davis is going to be the pick, 100%. And the way I looked at this before the draft, I thought to myself, the Eagles have to love Jordan Davis. And the reason why is because Howie Roseman has been in the league for what? He's been a GM for over 10 years now, 10 years plus. He's been an active GM in the NFL. he's seen every prospect you can think of. Howie Roseman has seen the George Karloffises, has seen those type of prospects roll in through the draft every single year. Jordan Davis is a one of one. He's a unicorn. When they got their eyeballs on Jordan Davis at Georgia and at the Combine, I just know Howie Roseman and that Eagles front office said, wow, like we need this guy. Like we've never seen a player like this. And the Baltimore Ravens, Eric DeCosta, their GM, has also been in the league for very long. So I assumed that both those general managers would be all over Jordan Davis, and they were pretty much like fist fighting for him. And Howie Roseman beat him to the punch. So I think it was a great move. I'm very high on Jordan Davis, and I've been very high on Jordan Davis from the start of the draft process.
You have.
I've always said, like, this, if he is there, if he's available in the mid rounds, you go get him, or mid picks in the first round, you go get him. Like you just go put him on your roster. You don't want to play.
It almost became pathological with you, Brenden. Like you were obsessed with him.
I was, and when they drafted him, I was very pumped. I was like, and then of course A.J. Brown after, it was just a chaotic 20 minutes. But my thought process behind Jordan Davis, like, I understand the critiques of the pass rush. I do. I'm not just throwing that out the window. It is something. He was not on the field a lot in third downs. The pass rush juice, you didn't really see a ton of it. I get it, but however, this is a guy that defenses are going to have to plan. Our offenses are going to have to plan their game plans around every single game they play the Philadelphia Eagles. Implementing Jordan Davis in that defense, offenses now have to dictate him. Like, they have to figure out, okay, how do we play around him? We don't want to run into this guy. We don't want to pass into this or in this guy's direction, anything like that. Now he is a game-changing type player on defense for opposing offenses. And that athletic profile, that guy like that, you can't pass. It's worth the swing. You know what? It might not work out. He might turn into maybe a better Dontari Poe. You know what? Maybe that's what happens. But I think it was 100% worth the swing there. This guy is a unicorn, one of one, and there is some serious upside with him. Like this guy has the potential to be a game wrecker. I don't like the Aaron Donald comparisons. They're kind of different players, but
yeah, they're totally different.
And the same kind of style, like the same way that Aaron Donald affects the game, Jordan Davis can do the exact same thing. Yes, there's projection here. There's 100% projection. This guy probably needs to get better conditioning. I'm assuming that's been a big conversation with Eagle scouts and Howie Roseman. But like, this was a home run pick for me. I thought it was a great process, the way they jumped Baltimore. You give up no day 2 or day 1 picks. You go get your guy. You go get the one of one. You go get the unicorn. I thought it was a home run pick.
Yeah, and that should be the thing, that regardless of what we might think of his rotation, his pass rush ability, and how high he plays, yada yada. We can get into all of those things, but what it really boils down to is that here is a guy who has an athletic profile that has never been seen before in the NFL. Yes. He is literally, without question and without comparison, the most athletically gifted defensive tackle that has ever come into the league. And
you could argue a most athletically gifted prospect ever. The biggest, the fastest.
Exactly. Like I was just looking up on Mock Draftable, where you can like compare athletes to one another, and I just like there's this thing where you go into, like, you can choose positions, whether with him, like if you want defensive tackle, D-line, or just any athlete in general. And if you put in any athlete in general, he would come up with obviously a 99 weight percentile, and even like taking everybody into consideration, he's still in the 41st percentile on the 40-yard dash.
He's 340 pounds.
Do you know how crazy that is to be in the 99th percentile in weight?
Yeah.
And still deliver right around that middle percentile in the 40-yard dash. I mean, no, seriously though, if everything fails with him on the D-line, you can put him at guard.
Yeah. So a little background on him too. So I kind of did some research. I was kind of learning who is Jordan Davis? What has he been up to in childhood, or what was he up to in childhood? Sorry. So he grew up in North Carolina. He didn't play. He was a basketball guy. He didn't start playing football. He was basically pressured by, I'm assuming he was walking through the hallways at his high school, and you had like the D offensive line and D-line coaches walking through like, who is this guy and why is he not playing football for us? So he got pressured basically by coaches at high school to play. So he only played 2 years of football before Georgia gave him a full ride scholarship. So like, he had scholarships from everywhere. He was only a 3-star recruit until basically he went to some recruiting like workouts and stuff, and then all these teams like, oh, okay, we got to give this guy a scholarship. So like he's still raw in that way, which is fine. But yeah, you're right. Like he played offensive line in high school. Like he played both ways. So
It makes a ton of sense for cap purposes as well. Like you have a guy that you can develop into something. You've had success with that with Fletcher Cox as well.
Yeah.
But looking ahead, Fletcher Cox is not going to be here after this year. It's simply how his contract is put together. Javon Hargrave is on his last year of his deal, and they drafted Milton Williams last year. So, I mean, they could potentially, if everything goes well this season, they can be replacing both Javon Hargrave and Fletcher Cox's contract, which goes a long way in paying $25 million per year for a wide receiver, for example.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a give and take in those situations because then you have money removed from the defensive tackle position that you can put in elsewhere.
And it goes back to the wide receiver thing. The Eagles won't have to pay Devonta Smith until A.J. Brown's contract is basically up at 28 years old. Like it's kind of the same thing to kind of mix and match. Here's a question for you. I was thinking about this one today. Knowing what you know now, knowing that the Eagles traded for A.J. Brown and Jordan Davis, or drafted Jordan Davis, would you have gave Fletcher Cox a 1 year, was a $13, $14 million contract? Knowing what you know now. Because obviously then the Eagles couldn't have predicted that Jordan Davis is going to be there, so it was kind of insurance. But knowing what you know now, would you have handed Fletcher Cox that contract?
Yeah.
Yes,
I think I would, because there's not a single player in free agency that they would have been able to throw more money at, because I think they gave offers for a Marcus Williams and for an Allen Robinson and for all these guys that I think they were right there in terms of the money. I think it simply wasn't a fit. I don't think they wanted to play in Philadelphia. So you have to use, like, you're going to use the money somewhere, and like Jordan Davis is going to have to trim down. Let's just be real about it. I mean, he's going to have to lose a little bit of weight just to get his explosiveness and get his stamina, or like, so he can play a consistent amount of snaps and he can adjust to the NFL while having a rotation that'll be Milton Williams, Jordan Davis, Javon Hargrave, and Fletcher Cox. So he's not getting pushed into that role immediately. Like he can adjust to the NFL, he can get his physique right. So he is in a better position to take over as the full-time starter going forward. So I think I would still keep Fletcher Cox, also because I don't think I'm done with Fletcher Cox. It kind of goes the same emotional way.
I agree. I thought the exact same thing, Tim. I'm happy you brought that up. Like I felt like I wasn't ready to say goodbye, if that makes sense. Like I felt like I wanted something more, and maybe one more year does it. It's just, that's a lot of money. And I know that you have Jordan Davis, it's kind of a clogged up defensive tackle room. So I was just pondering. I thought it was an interesting kind of thought process to have on this show. Chris, quick update. Jordan Davis' intro presser is right now. I don't know if you see in this. He is choosing number 90. I like that. I like being 90. That's what I wore at York University in Toronto, Ontario, baby, when I played football there. So I like a number 90. And he apparently is rocking the press conference. His mom was an Eagles fan growing up in North Carolina, and apparently she was a big Donovan McNabb fan. Weren't we all?
Man. Perfect. He's just such a massive human. Like watching him sit there at the press conference. If nothing else, it's going to be so fun to watch him.
He's going to be a fan favorite. He's going to be out the gate a fan favorite. Like a lot of Georgia fans. Like I was in the depths at like 1:32 in the morning last night, couldn't sleep, and I was going through like some Georgia accounts. Like this guy had nothing but love there. Like
I want a picture of Jordan Mailata and of Jordan Davis standing next to each other, just so we have an idea of where we're at here, because that's kind of the scale that we've been using.
I'm sure that's going to happen in training camp. I'm sure.
That's going to happen 100%.
Trying to think of anything else in Jordan Davis. Why don't we just talk about the scheme fit a little bit here? So what do you think? I don't know if this had a lot to do with the Jonathan Gannon scheme, but having said that, they did have an issue with run stopping last year. I go back to the Kansas City Chiefs game. Remember that? The Chiefs ran all over us. The 49ers in the home opener, the 49ers were able to kind of run all over us towards the end of that game as well. So like they couldn't really get stops when they needed stops. And like there was a lot of 5, 6, 7 yard chunk runs kind of at the beginning of the year, that kind of helped, like that backfired on this team, and they couldn't get off the field. So I think just dropping him in the defense right away now, even if it is for 2 downs for a bit, even if you need to kind of build him up, like it's going to make such a difference. And I think he's scheme proof. I think you can put him on any D. Like,
you can put him anywhere.
Yeah, Jonathan Gannon's probably not going to be here next year, so like you shouldn't be just thinking, oh, he's only specifically for Gannon defense. No, if Gannon takes off next year, this guy can play anywhere. This guy can fit onto any defense. Anything else?
I think that's kind of the biggest thing about both A.J. Brown and Jordan Davis, that you got 2 guys that you can plug into any system what do they call those guys? Blue chip players, or what is that?
Yeah, blue chip
Guy,
prospect. Yep.
scheme proof guys that are just good football players.
Yep.
That
Okay. So we got. So sorry. No, finish your thought. I thought you were done.
No.
Okay. So we got 10 minutes left before we got to take off. So let's talk some day 2 here. So you just mentioned blue chip prospects. There's still a ton of talent on the board here. Eagles, in my opinion, look, we just got to, let's talk the elephant in the room here. The secondary is still not looking too hot. they haven't addressed it. Zach McPherson, Marcus Epps, Anthony Harris, and Darius Slay are currently the 4 stars at cornerback. If you want to include Avonte Maddox in there, yes. So they currently still have 2 massive gaping holes at the safeties position and the other cornerback position. I think that it is what it is right now. I would not be going to reach for a corner or a safety if you just for the sake of doing it. Take the best player available. If that best player available is a linebacker or a defensive lineman, don't hesitate, do it. Yes, of course, it would be ideal if that best player available is a safety or a corner. But the way the board's shaking up right now, I don't know if the best player available is going to be a safety or corner. My assumption is that Brisker is going to be off the board by the time the Eagles pick at 51. So that kind of takes off that 51 range for safeties. Is there any other safeties that you think the Eagles would be interested in there at 51?
Jalen Pitre, if he drops there.
Pitry's an option as well. Yeah, I forgot about him. Baylor guy, right? He's Baylor, dude.
Yeah. Yep. Who's on the Illinois corner? Nick Cross.
Yep.
He could be in play.
So Roger McCreary's a guy I don't think the Eagles would be huge on. He's got smaller arms. No, I think he had 70-inch arms.
Does that matter though? Because Eagles play a ton of off man. It's not gonna he's not gonna be asked to press man a ton in the scheme that they're playing right now.
That's true, but again, I would not go for an attack a scheme pick here. I feel like Roger McCreary's not just a Howie guy. I don't know. I get that vibe from him. So who else like corners there? You got Kyle Gordon, from what's his school? Washington, yes, across from Chuck McDuffie. So he's definitely an option. I'm assuming he's going in the top 10 in this coming up, though, right? Like I don't think he falls to the Eagles at 51. I'm trying to think of any other cornerbacks that could be available. Roger McCreary, we already talked about. Cam Taylor-Britt, maybe, but he's kind of on the smaller side. The big one's Andrew Booth. How far do you think this fall keeps going? Because I'm assuming I think there's some medical red flags here. That's why he's falling.
I think he's gone before 40.
Okay.
That's just my.
He had bone issues in his foot, I believe, or something like that. He had some medical.
I think he had a sports hernia.
Yeah, he had some medical red flag issues going into the draft. So I'm assuming because he's a top 25 prospect in the draft, he's fully healthy. So if the medical is clear and he's in like maybe a little trade up distance, I would look at that.
And you said yourself, there's not really a corner they're worth really scooting up to get or reaching for. But if you are going to reach up or trade up for somebody, it would be an Andrew Booth, in my opinion. Also, the Houston cornerback Marcus Jones, a guy to keep an eye on in the third round.
He was a fun watch. I liked Marcus Jones. I had a blast watching him. I was watching Logan Hall, and then Marcus Jones kept coming up. I'm like, all right, like this guy's awesome too. So.
By the way, just a quick note here. Jordan Davis said that he had top 30 visits with Ravens and Cowboys.
Interesting. I'm assuming, Jerry Jones. He seems like a Jerry Jones guy. Like just like the older GMs, the guys that have been in this league for longer, the guys who've seen prospects go in and out of this league. Like that's who the Jordan Davis appeals to. And it was a Howie Roseman, it was an Eric DeCosta kind of Jerry Jones type of player. So just keeping on today,
linebacker. We need to talk
really love linebackers. I really like Christian Harris. I know, so I've got some pushback on this. He's had some missed tackle problems. I've noticed when I was watching him, a lot of missed tackles towards the end of the Alabama season this year that he has to clean up. He's kind of not the best, like at stop and starts. When he's going one way, he's going one way, if that makes sense. Like he doesn't have the best instincts that way, but athletic, ran a 4.4 40-yard dash. Sorry, it's been a long day. He's got the long wingspan and he's got 74 arms. I'm assuming they'll like his body type. He's only 21 years old. He will be 21 week 1 of the NFL season. That's a big plus. That's a big bonus for him. I think if you have the chance to go grab a guy that started 30 games at Alabama as a linebacker who's 21 years old, I think you go do it. Like at 51, I don't know if he's not going to be able to come in right away and cover tight ends. Like he's still raw that way. still raw in that way in his game, but I would be all over him at 51. I think
Would
he's
you
my
trade
guy.
up for Nakobe Dean if he was to fall to like 40? That's 11 spots.
Do you like Nakobe Dean a lot more than Christian Harris?
I do.
Okay.
But I mean, I wouldn't trade up for a Christian Harris, but I think I'll be willing to move up for a Nakobe Dean. Just think about like if you can have a Georgia stud linebacker and a Georgia stud defensive tackle, I'm obsessed with these SEC guys because they're good football players.
It's not the worst.
Oh, I mean, Christian Harris is an SEC linebacker as well. I mean, the thing that Christian Harris has going for him is that he's bigger, and he's got that safety background. That
he also played wide receiver in high school.
He did.
Like he can do it all.
How big is Christian Harris, by the way? Is he 6'2"?
Christian Harris is 6'4", 6 foot tall, 226. He's got 76-inch wingspan.
He's 6 foot, so he's not that much bigger than Nakobe actually.
76-inch arms. Like Devin Lloyd's got the 80-inch arms. He's built in a lab, but Christian Harris is just right there. Like he's got. I just feel like Christian Harris would be a Howie Roseman pick. I know they're drooling over him. I know they probably want him at 51 if he's there. I don't know if he's going to make it there, but fingers crossed. Are you big on Chad Muma? What do you make of him? I'm not.
I mean, not that much. I mean, I think he's a guy that can go into that Logan Wilson type of transition where he kind of surprises in a big way. I mean, he's a fundamentally sound linebacker, but not in the same category for me as Christian Harris or Nakobe Dean at all.
Thank you. I saw a lot of Chad Muma today. I know like he led the country in tackles last year, so just the stats kind of pop off. But he's going to be 23 years old when week 1 kicks off. He was kind of slow. I think he ran up the 4.6s in his 40-yard dash. I don't know. I'm not big on the guy.
He's very physical, though. I mean, he's one of those guys that his tape just stands out because he's such a good tackler.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we're also got to touch on David Ojabo. If he's there at 51, would you do it?
I don't know.
No, you don't have to hesitate with that. Of course you do it.
You think, yeah?
Yeah.
I've got I'm not saying Sidney Jones PTSD, because I think a lot of what's happened to Sidney Jones was after the fact. Like, I don't think he maybe not put in the work, but I think it was a lot of instinct stuff. Like, I don't think the athleticism of Sidney Jones was kind of his downfall. But Achilles injury is
no joke.
It's a tough rebound at that kind of position to an edge rusher. And he's also very raw already. Like, that's another thing that kind of scares me. Like, this isn't Myles Garrett tearing his ACL before. Like, we had like 30 career starts and whatnot. Like, this guy was already raw. Yeah,
He just turned 21. He didn't start that many games, and he was still considered a top 10 talent simply because of his ability to pass rush, and his ability to bend was off the charts, maybe the best in the class. I mean, he was going top 15 as a lock before his injury, and he's young, and if the medicals are coming out that he's doing all right after the I think I'd do it.
Yeah,
I don't think I would do it.
So what about a Drake Jackson? Would you take a Drake? I love a Drake Jackson. If he's there at 5'1", I think that I don't know if Harrison.
He's also your guy.
Yeah, I love a Drake Jackson. He's fun, man. He was a fun watch. And I actually thought I think Tom Pelissero had a tweet like right before the draft, like, don't be surprised if this guy squeezes into the first round. So I don't know how he probably won't last very long. I'm assuming he'll be one of the top 7-10 picks. Is there I would go, let's just kind of wrap it up here. We got a couple minutes. I would go defense here. Like, again, I said don't reach, take best player available. I'm assuming there should be enough best player available type players there at defense. Like, you could go guard here, I guess, but like I'd be wary of taking interior offensive line this high, and especially this year in the draft. They've got enough there. Isaiah Seumalo was hurt. He's coming back. Your boy Nate Herbig, he's
my
fine.
boy.
He started I think he started the third most games on his offensive line over the last couple of years. Like, he's underrated. He's only 24 years old. So like I feel like they're okay there. I don't think they need to reach for a guard or just go like. I think just try to keep going on defense. Keep trying to get defensive talent. Keep trying to get blue chip players.
Also, a couple guys we have to name were those Cincinnati guys of the Brian Cook and Kobe Bryant. Also guys that at positions of need at the safety and cornerback.
Wasn't Whitman shooting in the gym? Yeah, Kobe Bryant would be. Of course, like, he's got the Cincinnati label and he would play with Sauce Gardner, but I think he's a good player. I think that would be more in the third round, right? How high is he going?
Which one of them?
Kobe Bryant.
Third.
Yeah. He would.
I think Brian Cook is going second, late second.
Another guy watch out for. Oh no, sorry.
Quickly, let's just touch because I know we're up on a tight schedule here. Trade candidates for the Eagles today. Andre Dillard. You agree?
Agreed. I think there's more than a 50-50 chance that he's getting traded.
All right. We got Jalen Reagor.
He's not going anywhere.
Really?
Who's going to give up assets for Jalen Reagor?
But that would be the perfect spot to do it if you could do like a switcheroo where you get higher up in the they keep their second round pick. Eagles move up with in the same round or like second, third, fourth round. Would you simply you switch spots and they get a Jalen Reagor? It is a low.
Not in the second round. There's no way.
Not third round then.
I think fifth round, sixth round. Thomas Jalen Reagor has been awful.
You call up somebody, say this dude's fast. It was a bad scheme. Blame it on the fans. We can take it. I mean, if that's what it takes.
I think it's
Philly fans,
wishful.
blah blah blah. Mental.
I think it's wishful thinking, man. Like I agree. I think that would be ideal, but I have a hard time believing that any team is going to give up valuable assets or any asset at all.
It's not a valuable asset. It's moving.
So moving up like 3 picks in the third round.
Gardner Minshew.
I wouldn't trade Gardner Minshew. I would hold on.
You wouldn't, but do you think he's a trade candidate?
I think he is, but the problem is with trading him right now is there's no good backup quarterbacks out there, right? Like unless
Don't you dare say that about Sinet or what is his name?
Reed Sinet. But like unless you draft one, unless you're planning on drafting one in the 5th or 6th round that you think you're comfortable with backing up Jalen Hurts. Like look at the quarterback free agent market right now; it's awful. Like you're looking at Mike Lennon's and stuff like that. Like I think Gardner Minshew is a good enough asset to hold right now. I'm sure teams are going to be calling. But
what about Miles Sanders?
That is the elephant in the room one. We talked about this on the pre-draft.
Okay. Let me give you one. If you could give away Miles Sanders and it ultimately ends up in the Eagles drafting a James Cook, would you do it?
I would do it.
I'm right there with you.
Because they're gonna have to, Miles Sanders has 1 more year left on this roster.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter who plays running back behind the Eagles.
Unless they come up with some crazy team-friendly deal, which is probably not going to happen. He's going to hit free agency next year. So I would 100% be all over that. But how high is Cook go? I'm assuming Cook is probably going late 2nd, early 3rd, right?
Yeah, I think that's his range. Yeah. They're gonna get the Brees Hall and the Kenneth
Walker, yeah.
Yeah, Kenneth Walker.
I think James Cook is probably. I like Cook better than I like Kenneth Walker. I like a Brees Hall. I think Brees Hall, I still think none of these guys are very like, oh my god, like we got to get these guys in the 2nd round type level. Like Miles Sanders, who I liked a lot when they drafted him. But I do think that I did like James Cook a lot. He's versatile too. You can get him outside. He's a good pass catching running back. Thomas. Right. Anything else before we go? This has been fun, man. Really appreciate you jumping on. Love talking drafted Eagles with you. But why don't you finish it off? Anything else?
Let's get this.
Yeah, let's
A+ so far.
Thank you so much for tuning into the live show, guys. Really appreciate it. I haven't done a live show. It's been over a year and a half since I've done this. So greatly appreciate you joining on. Yeah, this was fun. I would actually love to do this more often with you. We should get some live shows going more maybe during the year. You're going to be back on Sunday, I believe, right? Sunday to kind of recap all this.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So we're going to recap. We're going to go through all the day 2 and day 3 picks. We're going to kind of break it down, tell you who these guys are, where they're from, where they've been, what schools they went to, how they fit into this team. So cannot wait to do that. So make sure to tune in on Sunday. If you haven't, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Would greatly appreciate it. And subscribe to the podcast. Give it a rating. Anything you can do to help us out. Enjoy day 2, and we will talk to you later.